excited to be here and to have you here today. If you got a chance when you're coming in, to think about what you want your students to learn in school about climate change. I'm going to ask you to just press enter and put that in the chat now, and to spend a minute reading what other people have written. All right, so I love reading all of these, and I'm gonna just pause 10 seconds so you can read what everybody else has written. Awesome. So we're gonna take all these ideas, and I really love that everybody has a different idea, but everybody who came today knows that it's important and wants to bring it to their students. We're gonna move on to the next slide. So today we're gonna talk about how you can take action on climate change and how that relates to science teaching. So next slide. I'm going to introduce myself real fast. My name is Helen Fitzmaurice. I am a former high school physics and chemistry teacher from Pittsburgh High School. I taught there for 5 years. I'm currently taking a break from teaching, and I'm a grad student studying air quality at UC Berkeley, and I'm a member of the Environmental and Climate Change Literacy Working Group, which is Kate and I are here with today. So Kate is helping me, and she's going to introduce herself. While she's introducing herself, not everybody got a chance to write their name and what school they're at. Tyler, is that what we want?
Yep. Name the grade that you teach.
So while Kate's introducing, okay. Yeah, while Kate is introducing herself, we're going to ask that you just type in your name, the grade, and the school that you teach at, because it can be a little hard to sort of see everyone in Zoom.
Well, hi, everyone. I'm Kate, and I taught in Oakland schools for 20 years. I retired in 2018. I worked as a regular classroom teacher and as a science prep teacher, and I'm still working with the OUSD science department, with the ECCL team, and with other environmentally focused education groups.
Awesome, thanks. Mm-hmm. And so next, we're gonna briefly introduce the Environmental and Climate Change Literacy Working Group. So we are a group in Oakland Unified School District. We're made up of teachers, parents, and community members, and OUSD program coordinators who are working to support the implementation of an Oakland School Board policy on climate change literacy, which was adopted in 2019. Really thanks in part to a lot of high school students in Oakland who organized around that topic. If you are interested, please email Kate or I to find out more, or you can go to our website, which is linked on this page. And if you're just coming in now, Tyler is going to drop this presentation into the chat so you can have access to all of our links. All right. So I really appreciate everyone put into the chat what they want their students to learn about climate change. I think there's not a right answer, but I think it's really important to keep asking ourselves that question and to keep refining it as we go along. So you may or may not expand your definition of what climate change literacy is today, but I just wanted to sort of call that out and make sure we're all keep asking ourselves that question. Our other goal today is to introduce to you a template for climate change action projects, and we're going to walk you through an example. So next slide. I'd like you to think of our agenda as sort of leading through one example of what taking action might look like in your classroom. Obviously not, you know, the one right answer, but it's something that we've put together. Next, just to break down the timing. Awesome. So we're already behind schedule in good Zoom tradition. I'm going to go to our first breakout room very shortly. We're going to look at air quality with several hats. We're going to come back together and talk about why climate action and a model for action. And then you're going to go again into the same breakout room to walk through an example of how it impacts us and what we can do about it. We'll come back and we'll ask a few of the breakout rooms to share out and discuss. And then we're going to dedicate a little bit of time at the end to questions, and we have a lot of additional resources we'd love to share with you. All right. So we're going to launch straight into our breakout room. When you get into your breakout room, we want you to, Tyler, did you have something?
Oh yeah, breakout rooms are ready to go. I just wanted to make sure that everyone knew how long they were supposed to be in our groups before we are coming back.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk through that in just a second. I'm gonna walk through some slides first. So you're going to look at the air quality index readings on slides 7 and 8. I want you to think about, what do you notice and what questions does it bring up? And more specifically, and now, we're going to ask you to think with 3 different hats on. Okay, so when you wear your personal hat, like when you think about experiencing the wildfires, what do you notice and what questions does it bring up? When you think with your science hat on, what do you notice and what does it bring up? And then, you know, sort of looking out from your own experience, when you wear your community member hat and you think about, you know, all of the people who live in your city, in the Bay Area, what do you notice about the state and what questions does it bring up? So Kate's gonna show you the slides kind of quickly, but you'll have access to the slides because Tyler's put this in the link. So Kate, can you show us slides really quickly? So we have during the wildfires outdoor sensor readings, and then indoor sensor readings. And we're gonna give you 5 minutes in your group to discuss this before we come back. Any questions before we head out? All right, let's go.
Hello, everyone. Would you like me to send you guys to a room as well here?
Can you send? Yeah. Oh, I made Sarah a co-host so that she could go to a room. Yeah, I think, could you send us to rooms to check in and make sure people are good with the instructions? Yeah. And we can return.
Kate,
I'm just here to say hello, see how things are going. Take roll.
Hey, Corinne.
Hello.
So I'll go ahead and call people back in maybe 3 more minutes then.
Okay.
Does that sound okay?
That sounds okay. Yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, it's never enough time.
Yeah.
But I think it's enough for them to get just a sense of it, of using the form. And then when they come back, I'm going to actually fill in the form with some of their feedback, so they'll get to share in the larger group. That will add to their experience in the breakout room, so that's okay.
Oh, Tyler, you can pause during this time if you wanted to.
it takes a full minute sometimes to get everyone back from the breakout rooms.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
sometimes
That's
they're
okay.
just, yeah, they're very engaged in what they're doing. They're trying to use every last second.
Yeah. And I think there are slides that I can compress so that it will be fine.
Okay.
Where are you coming from? Is it Shanti?
Yeah, Shanti. I was a teacher in the Oakland Public Schools. I retired in June, and
Congratulations.
Yeah.
I'm a member of the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women. So everything for me is focused on children and the earth.
All right. Well, welcome back, everyone.
Wonderful.
All right. Yeah, thanks for coming back, and we hope you had a chance to both talk about these questions and introduce yourselves. We were wondering if we're going to ask sort of for each column, if anybody would be willing to share either something they noticed or a brought up. So does anybody have sort of a personal question? And you can just unmute yourself. You don't have to write it in that. Somebody has to.
Well, personally, I was just looking at that and say, well, we live in San Francisco, and it's very rare that we need the air conditioning and stuff like that. But our school, I don't know how many days out of a year we do have an air conditioning that's supposedly working, but not always. So I guess personally, I wonder if it get really hot, where do I go? That's, to cool myself down.
Yeah, that's a great question. And especially in the context of wildfires, I think. Does anybody have a science question or observation? Somebody has to.
I guess I would see if there's a change over time. Like, is it greater, or is it has it increased, like, or the area's increased, or if it stays relatively the same? That kind of a longitudinal study over time, right?
Like over a short time, like an
over
hour
a long
or
period,
weeks?
actually more over a long period of time, like maybe like years, 10 years or so, like, as opposed to like just months.
Yeah, that's a great question.
So over a span of years, how does and you're talking about air quality?
No, it's not air quality, isn't it just I thought it was sensor readings. I mean, I assumed it was temperature. Maybe is it?
That shows that I should have introduced it better. Yeah, so these are actually quality readings talking about the particulate matter in the air.
So then I guess I would say, yeah, same thing. Is there been an increase over time? Yeah.
Okay. Over a span of years, has there been an
increase of like density or like range of particular, like, how has how has the area been affected? Or I don't.
Isn't this taken kind of at the height of the fires? That's what I was looking at. I mean, I'm not sure which day. Hopefully not the red day, but still high. They went, and so hopefully they don't get that high again until.
Right, but doesn't every year they have like the high of the year, right? I guess you would see like
so
fire season, like, because they always say like we're entering into fire season. So I'm assuming that every year has a season, so every year does have a high.
So Catherine, if I said over a span of fire seasons, has there been an increase in density or range of particulate matter?
I think you said it way better than I could have.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify that I was getting your meaning.
Awesome. Thank you. And then I think just lastly, does anybody have either an observation or question around, you know, wearing your community hat? What does seeing these make you think?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say that under community hat, looking at the indoor air quality, some of those were like 309 indoor air quality. And it's that we were wondering, is that people who just have to keep their windows open because it's so hot, or just how that happened? Because there was a whole swath of ones that were really high indoor quality.
I noticed there's a huge range on that, so it made me wonder, like, what is it that the houses or wherever the inside the buildings, what's the difference that they have?
If
Like,
there was a
kind of
socioeconomic
structure of
difference.
the building, or yeah.
Yeah. And I think we're gonna, I think these are all really awesome questions. And I just wanted to sort of point out that we got really different questions when we were asking, you know, wearing these different hats. But I think they're kind of all related, and they are all secretly science questions. And I think just sort of framing and asking people to think about things with a different hat can be really interesting sometimes. All right, so we're going to transition now into sort of, you know, what we just did is we looked at a local climate change phenomena that impacted us personally. And we're going to now sort of talk really briefly why we could use this to teach climate action, maybe how we can, so really briefly, next.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
There it is.
I'm going to look at these graphs, and I'm going to walk you through these graphs with a particular hat. And I'm going to walk you through these graphs with my being a member of the human race. So the top graph shows a change model a woman did in 2009. And she basically asked the question, what if, you know, the y-axis on the top graph is CO2 and the x-axis is years. So we stopped emitting CO2 right now. And you see that 450, and that would be the maximum CO2. Or what if we wait another 10 years? It's okay. And then our maximum value might be 5. And it gives sort of a range of possibilities. And then on the bottom, what she did is she said, if that's what we did, and then we stopped, what would happen to temperature? And looking at this bottom graph with my sort of member of humanity hat, I see that even the really bottom scenario where we stop emitting CO2 right now, the temperature impact lasts at least the next 1,000 years. She didn't, you know, make her graph go infinitely into the future, but 1,000 years is a really long time. And so, next slide, Kate. I think it's nice to sort of, or it's not nice, it's a little scary to think about this, but no matter what we do right now, climate change is irreversible in the sense that even if we stopped emitting greenhouse gases right now, our students are going to have to deal with the consequences, and they're going to have to learn how to adapt. And that's kind of scary, but I think we can teach them to take it on. Next slide. And I think that if we teach them how to take it on and give them the basic tools, they can do it for themselves. So I'm going to tell you a story. Next slide, Kate. And this story is from when I was teaching in Pittsburgh. My students got involved in a project with some community activists to try to stop a crude oil facility that was going up in a neighborhood where some of them lived. And in order to do this, they took quality data, and you can see in the top, they made a little fact sheet with the data they took to convince, city council that the air quality already wasn't that good in Pittsburgh, and they made petitions and they went and talked to the city council. And with a lot of other people, it wasn't just my students, the project. And I think what they learned from this was a process of trying to act. And what they learned was, you collect data, you learn about the problem, you analyze the data, and then you communicate it to other people. And the next year, those same kids came back to me and they were like, well, actually, Misfits, environment is not really our thing, but we want to start this new club and you're going to be our club advisor. And they went through the same process. They decided, the problem they wanted to address was lack of diversity in advanced placement classes at their school. And so they went through the same process. They took data. They had students fill out surveys about their experiences being in classes. They learned how to use Google Sheets and made a million graphs. They had meetings with, the principal and the school side council and the school board ultimately. And ultimately they were able to change policy on how teachers could admit students to advanced placement classes. So I thought this was great because, the issue that I taught them action around wasn't their favorite issue, but they learned the process. So next slide.
Okay.
That kind of brings us to how we do it. And I think there's no one right answer, but next. Here's sort of the way I think about it. So we need to choose a local climate change phenomena about which our students have personal knowledge. So this is a picture that Kate took in her neighborhood the day that there was no sun. You all experienced the wildfires in the Bay Area. So you know about them. And then next, we're gonna explore how it impacts the people and the environment or ecosystem we live with, and then brainstorm actions to gather more data and action. And that's what we're going to do next.
Okay.
And we can skip this slide. I wanted to just really briefly take a step back and acknowledge that it can be kind of daunting to fit this in, because as middle school and high school, as secondary science teachers, we feel like we're sort of obligated to always meet our pacing guide. And you do, unit after unit, and you're always struggling to catch up, and it's hard to try to fit something in. And I want to sort of pose to you that that's not how science works. And this doesn't have to be a project that you do all at once. It could be something that maybe you work on every other Thursday. But real science is that way, where you're not chunking it into little 4-week projects, but the whole time you're working towards those science and engineering practices or principles that NGSS supports. So that's the next slide. All right, so I've been talking for too long. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to break out again, and each group will have 20 minutes to do this. So each group is going to get an article around a specific issue related to wildfires in the Bay Area. You're going to read the article linked for your group and also read the action prompt. If you have time, you can read one of the lesson plans around the action prompt, but if you don't, that's okay. They're there for you. And then you're just spend 12 minutes thinking as a group. So Kate, could you show us sort of a demonstration? So for example, if you are in breakout room 1 And that would be at the very top of your screen. It says which breakout room you're in. You're gonna go to the slide that says breakout room 1, like Kate just did. You're gonna click this link that Kate's gonna click for us.
Yeah.
And if you were in room 1, you would be addressing homelessness during wildfires. And you would read these short links and proposed action, and then go back to the PowerPoint. And we're gonna ask you, so that other groups can know about the different projects, to summarize really fast the article and the proposed action. And then to think about what additional information would you want to gather before taking the action, or want your students to gather, depending on the grade level of your students. And then how would you have to scaffold and support them throughout this project? Are there any questions? We're gonna give you a whole 2 minutes in these breakout rooms. Are there any questions
in the
before we
chat?
go?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I also have another meeting at 5, so I'll do this and then I won't be able to stay too much longer. Is anything that you're presenting today include the drawdown of planting grasses and planting trees and ecology education as an action for students?
Not specifically in what the 3 actions that we've listed as the examples, but I think you can use the same type of format. You know, you pick something that is really related to students' experience, you know, learn more about it, have them brainstorm an action, and support them through the process. Any other questions before we break you up?
Hi, Helen.
Hi.
Maybe I missed it. Where do we find the article, first of all? Is it on the slide that you provided, or is it?
Yeah.
From the link?
So if you're breakout room 1 or breakout room 5, you'd go to breakout room 5 slide.
Okay.
And then you click on the pink link to readings and action. And that's where you would find your group's prompts. Any other questions? Yeah, it starts on slide 23. Thanks, Sarah.
All right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and open breakout rooms then, and we'll see you back in 20 minutes.
So then if I go to present again, it'll come back.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Looks like everyone's trickling back in here from our breakout rooms.
There we go.
All right, welcome back, everyone.
You didn't give us a warning this time.
Oh no, sorry.
Sorry about that.
There was one, no one.
I tried to send one out, but maybe that didn't hit everyone.
So we were really excited to read through all of the group's comments, and we were going to have people share out, but we thought in the interest of time, we wanted to let you work with your group as long as possible. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna be silent for a minute, and I'm gonna ask you to just pick another group or another 2 groups that you weren't part of and just read through what they wrote down. So a summary of the lesson they worked through additional information they thought had to gather and how could they support their students through the project. So just spend 1 minute while we're all here. And I'm sorry to not let people share out, but I think
How do
want
we
to honor people's time.
How do we get to somebody else's page?
So if you are on the slideshow, you should be able to navigate down to any of the slides.
Okay.
And just take another 10 seconds to read what some other group has written. All right, so Kate is going to zoom ahead because the last thing we want to do before we run out of time is just share a few extra resources with you around taking action around climate change. So we have a page that's dedicated towards environmental justice and climate action resources. And we tried to organize them from kind of local to global resources. And you should feel free to check out all of these links. Next, we wanted to sort of point out just a list of actions or action types that you could take within your class. We've provided a link to these. Each of these individual links comes with either an article or a lesson plan for how to implement it in your classroom. And then we have another link to a similar but different list that we composed in ECCL. We also have a number of citizen science resources. So Purple Air is the air quality sensors that we were looking at the beginning. Again, I really apologize that I didn't say they were air quality sensors. I spend so much time thinking about air quality that I forget. We have habitat surveys and demographic information. And then additionally, especially if you're in 6th grade, Kate previously worked on a 5th grade unit on wildfires, and we have linked to all of the resources around that unit. Last.
Oh, sorry.
We just wanted to say thank you, and Kate and I will stay on for another couple minutes in case people have questions. Yeah, definitely everybody vote for Prop 15. Thank you, Shanti. But we wanted to advertise in case there are any OUSD teachers in the meeting today that there is a new program being rolled out by OEA's Environmental Justice Caucus called Oakland Teachers Advancing Action. And if you're interested, email Deidre Snyder. And then OUSD is also participating in People's Eco Challenge. Follow the link and sign up. It's going to be really fun. Other teachers are welcome to email Deidre as well to learn about Oakland teachers advancing climate action. We'd love to have non-Oakland teachers participate as well, but some of the resources we're offering will be Oakland specific. Thanks, and we'll stay on for questions. We really appreciate having you all here.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Helen.
Thank
There's
you.
also in the chat another link to other climate literacy PDs if you'd like to join anything else as well. Thanks so much, everybody, and take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Helen, this was awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
And looking at some of the different resources, like the cool climate.
And we didn't put Nature Bridge.
Do you know Nature Bridge, Helen?
I don't, but I would tell me about you.
Yeah, we do outdoor education for kids in national parks. So we actually have a campus in Golden Gate at the Golden Gate National Recreation area.